Okay, I'll get started because I know I'm limited on time. I think I have a lot of questions. The vegan diets explain what DGAC 2010 says about vegetarian versus non-vegetarian diets in relation to weight loss, cardiovascular disease, total mortality, and cancer. So when you compare a vegetarian diet to a non-vegetarian diet, it was found that as long as the calories are controlled for, the weight loss will be the same. As far as cardiovascular disease, it was found that vegetarian diets do decrease the risk of developing cardiovascular disease. And total mortality, it was also found that vegetarian diets offer that protective factor as far as leading a longer life. However, in relation to cancer, there wasn't any, evidence to strongly suggest that vegetarian diets are better than non-vegetarian diets at protecting against cancer. What besides meat content may be responsible for differences between diets with meat versus no meat? So as part of a vegetarian lifestyle, not that they are limited, but there are fewer options to choose from as far as things to eat. So naturally, vegetarians will probably consume more fruits and vegetables as opposed to less meat. So that would be one of those differences that just contributes to a healthy lifestyle through that additional consumption. What is the approximate carb content of most vegetarian diets? That's going to be around 55%, and that's actually in line with what current recommendations are for Americans, anywhere between 45 to 65. Are there significant safety concerns of vegetarian diets, and what are these? So as part of a vegetarian diet, complete protein sources are lacking. So vegetarians, there's always that concern that they're not going to be meeting their protein needs because the proteins that they're consuming are not complete and are deficient of certain amino acids that are necessary for growth and development. Is there any particular component of a diet that contains meat that may be of special concern? So looking at the research, diets that were higher in not only red meat but processed red meat were of particular concern because this group of individuals that were tracked as consuming more processed meat than unprocessed and no processed, they had a higher mortality rate. USDA diets. Describe how the USDA diet is often presented since 2011. So it's going to be My Plate. If you go to myplate.gov, you're going to see a plate that's color-coded that has fruits, vegetables, grains, protein on the plate in certain portions to give an idea of what your plate should look like at every meal, and then the serving of dairy. What are the two main themes of the DGAC 2010? So this is going to be limiting those sweetened beverages and maintaining caloric balance, which in turn would lead to maintaining a healthy weight. And let's see, what four things does DGAC 2010 specifically limit? So it's going to be, again, those added sugars. It's going to be limiting refined grains, limiting sodium, and limiting solid fats. What are the three greatest sources of solid fats? These would be the refined grain desserts or grain-based desserts, and then pizza and regular cheese. The same would apply for the saturated fats, the three greatest sources of saturated fats, although they are consumed in a different ranking. At the end of the day, that's where the Americans get the majority of their solid fats and saturated fats from. Explain why DGAC probably emphasizes limiting solid fats. So solid fats are just associated with cardiovascular disease. They are atherogenic, and so they would, progress a cardiovascular disease, and so thus they also, in addition to that, provide excess calories that offer really no nutritive value, so they're kind of devoid of fiber, and those excess calories will just turn into excess weight over time. What is the greatest source of added sugars in the American diet? So this is going to be energy drinks, sports drinks. A lot of times people consume Gatorade and Powerade to fuel a 30-minute workout, and those energy drinks are really just developed for top performance athletes that work out for more than an hour a day and really need to replenish their sources of electrolytes. So in addition to that, they just have a very readily available source of sugar that just kind of gets converted into fat. What is the DGAC prescribed limit for daily sodium? So that's going to be less than 2,300, and of course less if the individual has a history of heart disease. What are the AHA guidelines, criteria, or cutoffs to achieve for LDL, HDL, triglycerides, blood pressure, blood glucose, and physical activity? So for LDL, this would be less than 100. For HDL, this would be greater than 40 in women and 50 in men. For triglycerides is going to be less than 150. For blood pressure, we're going to try to keep it less than 120 over 80. Fasting blood sugar ideally should be less than 100. It's greater than 126 is indicates that diabetes, and aiming for at least 30 minutes of physical activity most days of the week. Briefly describe the essential components of 2006 AHA diet and lifestyle recommendations to reduce risk of cardiovascular disease. So again, it's going to basically be the same things that we just went over, but application. So maintaining that ideal body weight, trying to maintain a healthy blood pressure, a healthy blood glucose, the A1C as well, and then limiting tobacco products. So that's been really big to decrease heart disease. Explain if a DASH diet fits in with AHA dietary pattern guidelines, and note how much fruits, vegetables, and grains are prescribed in DASH. So yes, it is in line with those recommendations, and the fruits and vegetables are recommended to consume 4 to 5 servings per day, and the whole grains would be 6 to 8 servings. Explain what the AHA says about the macronutrient intake of energy balance. So it basically says that it doesn't have much of an effect. You know, the macronutrient composition, but when it is altered and maybe more fats are being consumed, so we know that fats are going to carry more calories per gram, and if physical activity isn't adjusted for this change in ratio, excess weight gain will occur. Okay, identify and order the 5 foods that have been found to be associated with reduced risk of coronary heart disease. So that would be whole grains, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and fish. Identify the name or component in tea that is probably associated with decreased cardiovascular disease. So we know that we have polyphenols that are just kind of a large class with different, I guess, subgroups of potent antioxidants. So the catechins would be one that contribute to the decreased risk of cardiovascular disease. And the same for wine. We know that within this class of polyphenols, we have resveratrol, which is a very potent antioxidant and offers those protective factors against cardiovascular disease. And in chocolate, we know that the polyphenol responsible for the positive reduction in risk factors for coronary heart disease would be the epicatechins. And then something new, 8 minutes. Something new, in the Harvard School of Public Health, they recently came out with a recommendation that it's not bad, as it once was thought to be, for individuals who are healthy to consume 1 egg per day, because we know that although it does have cholesterol, it also does have a lot of other vitamins and minerals that when consumed in as an entire egg, you get those health benefits. Of course, this would be limited for a person who has cardiovascular disease. They would say limit to less than 3 eggs per week. Thank you.